pro career. Come down the tail end of the interview. All right, so your pro career, you were drafted in 2005 as the 13th overall pick to Real Salt Lake. What was it like when you heard your name called out on draft day that you were now officially a professional soccer player?
That was the coolest moment right there. You know, everyone wants to be a pro soccer player, and that was it. That made it real. And so I knew I was going to go live in Salt Lake City and play there. And I just was so happy. I went up there and I gave a speech, and I was like a deer in the headlights. I had all the lights, and there was probably 1,000 people there. And I gave a speech, and yeah, it was the coolest moment ever for sure.
That's so awesome. Getting goosebumps over here. But what's the biggest difference between the pro game and the college game and even the youth game? What are the differences when you move up levels?
Well, I mean, as you know, because you played in MLS too. You know that it's fast. I mean, it's the time you have to think about things. If you take too long, somebody else is going to think quicker than you and come take it from you. Is going to knock you off the ball, and it's almost one of those things that you get to a point where everybody's about the same size, about the same speed, and about the same physical ability. It's who can think quicker and who can play quicker. And as you know, that's the biggest difference, and I think that's what separates people to be able to do it at every level.
Sorry, you guys may not be able to see this, but Jamie's getting his leg knocked around over here by Connor, our mean defender. All right. So you were a fan favorite in Salt Lake. Everyone loved you. You were super involved in the community. Do you remember your first pro goal? And how did it happen? And what was your goal celebration like?
Oh, it was crazy. I remember my good buddy Andy Williams went down the side at the point in Los Angeles at home, and he crossed the ball in. I slid and scored with my left foot. And when I scored, I didn't know what to do. I had thought of a million celebrations. I scored a million goals as a kid, and I froze up. And I think I ended up doing about 4 different celebrations all in one. And everyone knows when you score, you're only supposed to pick one, and I couldn't figure out which one to do.
Yellow card.
Yeah. So it was crazy. I was so happy, and one of the coolest things about it, after the game. Landon Donovan came up to me because we played against him, and he said, "Congrats, Jamie, on the first goal." I was like, "Landon, you know my name?" That was pretty cool. That was one of the coolest moments. And the guys signed the ball for me after the game, everybody on the team, and I have it in a little trophy case at home that it will be something I'll keep forever. You know.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Landon Donovan, congratulate you, man. That's so cool.
Thanks, Landon.
What's it like signing autographs for fans and kids, and how cool is that?
Oh, it's the best. I mean, signing autographs is cool because it wasn't that long ago that I was in their shoes asking my favorite player for an autograph. You know, and one of you guys that you may know is Jason Christ from Mandeville, and he was the last person I asked an autograph from, and then I ended up playing with him a couple years later. And whenever I reminded him that, he never liked that because it made him feel old. And when I brought the autograph into the locker room and I put it up for everybody for the team to laugh at, he didn't like that either. But it was really cool. It was something that I was a big fan of the game, and I'm still a big fan. And it's one of the coolest feelings ever. And hopefully, pretty soon you guys will be in a spot where people ask for your autograph. And what it is, just remember how cool it was when you were a kid and you were getting autographs. And that's the one thing that I try to never forget.
For you players and parents that don't know, Jason Christ is the head coach at Real Salt Lake. They won MLS Cup in 2009. He's a Mandeville High School graduate. He grew up here, played at Pelican Park. He was a league MVP in MLS as a player, big-time player, now big-time coach. So Jamie used to play for him and got his autograph and played with him, actually. So after 39 appearances, 2 goals and assists, you were waived in 2008, released from Real Salt Lake, and after trying out with several other MLS teams and USL teams, no one wanted you. No one said you were good enough to play in MLS, and they didn't sign you. And you actually dropped all the way down to an amateur side, an under-23 PDL team, and you lost your professional status. I believe you were quoted in a yanksabroad.com article as saying, "I went from owning my own home to sleeping in a couch and sharing an apartment with 4 other guys, all in the span of 6 months." Most good pros have some sort of obstacle they have to overcome, whether it's an injury or a tough upbringing. In my opinion, this was your big obstacle, this big moment for you here. Why did you get released from Salt Lake? How hard was it to handle mentally? And why did you decide to keep playing despite not being paid to play?
Yeah, well, speaking of Jason, when he took over, I guess he let me go. So Thanks, Jason. But it ended up being a good thing because at the time, all the cool things we had talked about, getting to this point, all the accomplishments. To get to that point, I'd always worked really hard. I was that kid that tried, harder than everybody else, that practiced more than everybody else, that was a good friend to everybody because a good teammate, and that always helped me get to that point. But then this is where I messed up and I slipped up and I forgot everything. I forgot everything that got me to that point. And it was humbling, and it was maybe a good thing for me because I'd gotten to where I was that cocky pro athlete that guys don't like. And it was nobody else's fault but mine, but I kind of let it get to that point without knowing it. And you mentioned about owning the home. I mean, I bought my first house in Salt Lake, and when I got let go, it was kind of like that was the biggest surprise. And I had to sell the house. I had to move. I had a girlfriend at the time. I had to leave all my friends. I had to start over again, and it was really humbling. But it's kind of one of those where when you hit rock bottom, the only place to go is up, right? And when you're doing a lot of things wrong, what can you do but fix it? And so. Not to get too super serious, but you can never, if you always want to achieve your goals, you can never rest on what you've done to get there. If you've achieved a goal, now you got to set an even higher one and do everything you did to get to that point. And that's what I guess I had forgotten over the years, and had to remind myself of it. And it wasn't easy, but still doing that every day.
All right, so obviously a big moment, a hard moment for you, and you played with the PDL team. You did all right. You went on. You signed with FC Dallas after that. You were back in MLS for a little bit. They didn't really offer you another contract after a couple months, and eventually you were signed with the Wilmington Hammerheads, which is USL 2 league, which is two levels below MLS. And at Wilmington that season, you led the league in scoring with 12 goals. You helped them earn a regular season title. And you were named league MVP, okay? So, and most people would think, like, you should have definitely done that because you were a great player, But it's not easy to be a great player and not always be on the best team. You're not always going to shine. You have to get your teammates involved. You have to be a better team player to get everyone going. So mentally, what were you telling yourself on a regular basis at that level to be successful and help your teammates? And tell us a little about the season in Wilmington.
Yeah, well, like you said, it was another step back. So it just goes to show you, not everything is always as you want it to be or as easy, but it's how you respond to it. So that was the thing I kept telling myself, and I ended up going to Wilmington. Coach Irving, gave me a call and was like, "We want you to come here." I, was excited to go there. Ended up meeting some great friends from the team, and had the best year of my career. And it was one of those things that I had to really challenge myself because it wasn't easy, it was just a small step to get back to where I would like to be, and it's not there yet, but it's everything's building up to that point. And it isn't just soccer; it's all about being a good person too, because you play soccer for an hour and a half a day, and then you've got the rest of the day to. Are you defined by that, or are you defined by what you do throughout the entire day? And so I kind of had to grow up and learn that, and so that's the biggest thing that I would tell young guys is because. I don't want guys to be in the same situation I was where you have to drop all the way down to get back up, and going to Wilmington, it was a great experience. It was a great place to live. Had a great year. The team was really good, and I was lucky and, had a great season. And, winning an MVP was one of the coolest things ever. I was not going to lie and say that didn't mean a lot because I definitely did, but, I'm very proud of that, and it's just goes to show if you work hard, you can achieve things you want. It's just, are you willing to put in the work?
And you mentioned stepping back up that ladder. You had gone down, and then you stepped up that ladder to USL 2 in Wilmington. You did really well. And then you took another step up to the Austin Aztecs, which is in the league above that, one right below MLS. You had a great season with them. How exciting was it to move back to your home state of Texas and play for the Austin Aztecs?
Yeah, it was great. My family's still in Texas, so getting back there was great. I love it. Anybody that's ever been there will tell you it's one of the best cities to live in. Not to mention it was another step up in career, so it was great. We had a good year. Got to have another good season, and so we're looking to do it again next year. I'm with the team again next year, so.
All right. Before we get going in the future here, let me cut you off there.
Sorry.
So when you were in Austin, you kept continuing to prove how hungry you are to become a better player. And you were one of the leaders on the team. You scored 9 goals. You racked up 8 assists. And you were also voted into the league best 11 this current season, this current 2010 season, which is a huge honor. It's like being on the All-Star team. Geez, I lost my train of thought here. Sorry, guys. So now moving into 2011, we're just talking about your future. What's next for you in the Aztec?
Yeah, and after a good year, we the owner moved the team to Orlando, so we're going to be going to Orlando, Florida, which is it'll be exciting. It's a new challenge, new city, new place. Don't know anybody there, but that's really just another step to another part of it. And I thought I was going to be settled down for a little while, and not have to keep moving around, but it'll be cool. It'll be a great place, and now we're just going to try to win a championship this year. That's the one thing I'm missing right now. I don't have a championship yet, so I want to do that. Obviously, that's the biggest thing in sports is to win your league championship. So try to do that for sure this year.
All right. Well, scoring goals is one of the hardest things to do in soccer. And for you, though, it seems to come easy. I think you scored something like 50 youth international goals, 31 goals as a professional. You are one of a few players in American soccer that has scored at every level in all 4 divisions of American soccer. What makes you such a good goal scorer? Listen up, kiddies. It's important here.
You just have to put yourself in good positions, and by doing that, you have to think. It's what we were talking about, and I'm not the biggest guy in the world. Good, you guys didn't laugh. Thank you for making me feel a little better about that. It's about how quick you can think. If you can put yourself in a good spot, and then do you need to, like we worked on today, do you need to shoot it with power? Do you need to finesse it in? And it's kind of one of those things that, as I've gotten older, it's gotten to be something I take a lot of pride in, and that's what I'm good at. I'm not good at a lot of other things. I'm not going to go jump up with the big guy and win a header, so I have to try to be a little bit quicker than he is, and I've just kind of adapted to my game, and now that's what I try to pride myself on, and it's a cool feeling scoring a goal, isn't it? That's the best feeling in the world, right?
What do y'all think? Cool feeling scoring goals?
Yeah.
That's right.
For sure.
All right, well, I got 2 questions here about your advice for young players. And the first is, what advice do you have for young players, and pros for that matter, that maybe are the best player on the team, and they think they're the best, and they don't quite have to work that hard? What's your advice for them? And then second, what advice do you have for young players in general that are trying to live the dream of playing pro soccer?
These are easy for me, because look what I did. I was fortunate to be one of the better players when I was younger, but then I got to that point and I stopped working hard. And I stopped doing everything that got me to that point. So never do that, ever. Whenever you accomplish a goal, look back on it and say, this is how I was able to get to that point. And once you do that, say, okay, let's set a new goal and make sure to keep doing those things. Because once you stop, there's always going to be somebody that's willing to do what you're not. So if they want to go outside, if you're not willing to go outside and run and work with a soccer ball every single day, I promise you there's a kid that's willing to do it. And I was that kid that was willing to do it. And then I got to that point where I passed him, and then I stopped. And that was my fault. And that's why I obviously had so many setbacks. But now I've had to remind myself to get back to that point of doing that. And then for just everyone in general, you never know who's watching. That's my biggest thing, because when I first got, discovered by coaches, I didn't know that they were there. I didn't know that there was a national team coach there. I didn't know that there was a regional team coach there. And, I was just playing as hard as I could just because that's what I wanted to do, that for myself, for my team. And it ended up working out to where I had a good game in front of those coaches, and I didn't know they were watching. And next thing you know, I'm playing on the national team and playing in a World Cup, and going pro. So you never know who's watching. That's the biggest thing.
That's great advice. All right, Jamie, last question here before we take some user-submitted questions. What is your dream in soccer, and do you believe in it, that your dream can come true?
Dream is to play in the World Cup, just like what you guys watched this year. And, if you don't believe in it, you're never going to achieve it. If you can't convince yourself of it, how can you convince others? You can't convince a coach to pick you if you're not convinced yourself you're good enough to be on the team. So whether that's your high school team, whether that's your college team, whether that's going pro, you got to believe in it yourself, or else no one else is going to believe in you.
All right, well, that wraps it up, Jamie. We're going to take some user-submitted questions here about your professional career, both from the audience and online. And then we're going to give out some more prizes, including our grand prize, which is an autographed Jamie Watson Real Salt Lake jersey.
My first year, yeah.
That's hanging up over here from his rookie year. Pretty cool. All right, first question. Put your hand up if you got one. Alex.
How many red cards did you get?
How many red cards did you get?
Well, I did get one red card. I probably was wearing that jersey. It was my first year. The guy, I mean, can I tell the story, I guess? It wasn't anything bad. Well, it is bad. I got red carded. But he elbowed me, and then I got mad, and I ran into him as hard as I could, knocked him over, and got a red card for it. I didn't kick him. I mean, I'm not the biggest guy. How did I make him go flying into the signboards?
Well, and how much money did that cost you out of your paycheck in a fine?
That was a $500 fine and a game suspension. So that was, I thought it was great until that next paycheck came and it was $500 less. So then it was not a good decision. But I will say this year, I played 28 games this year and did not have one single yellow card or red card all year.
All right, nice. All right, Will.
Oh, how many yellow cards did you get?
How many yellow cards did you get?
Well, this year, none. That year that I got the red card, I think I had 3 or 4. Enough that my mom got onto me and yelled at me for getting them, so I learned to not get them so I didn't get yelled at.
All right, next question. Anybody? Parents? Mr. Berger?
Your decision to leave college earlier, you think, looking back, you would do that again?
So he asked, your decision to leave college earlier, looking back, would you do that again?
It's a real good question. I mean, you can always look back on it in hindsight's 2020, but you know, I like to look at it as, why regret anything? You know, I mean, would I be sitting in front of you guys right now if I would have stayed and have gotten to have this incredible 6 years playing that I have? No, I probably wouldn't. So looking back on it, I'd like to say I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't change the decision. I would obviously like to clearly go back and change a lot of things. I'm sure everybody here can agree to that. But no, I mean, I had a great time, and I've had a very fortunate, very lucky 6 years, very fun 6 years playing pro, and you know, knock on wood, hopefully I get to keep doing this. And I mean, that's a great question, because I sit here and talk all day, should I have, but try not to regret anything, you know?
All right. Lenny?
Did you ever win the MLS Cup?
Did you ever win the MLS Cup?
No, I did not. Real Salt Lake decided to win it the year I left, so that was really cool of them. So all my friends got to win it, but I didn't. So I actually got to go to the game, watch them win it, and I decided I was on the team when we were really bad, and now the team's really good. And even though I'm not on the team, I'm going to celebrate like I won it. So I joined in the celebration with the guys. So yeah, I mean, I got to hold the trophy, but I didn't actually win it.
Awesome. Good question, Lee. All right, we're going to take one online here from Toddy417. What do you think the future holds for MLS both domestically and on a global scale?
It's a great question. You know, next year there's a new team coming in, 2 new teams actually, and then after that there'll be another team in Montreal. There'll be 19 teams. I think if they can get to 20 teams, that would be perfect, because then you'd have 30 guys on each team, 20 teams. You have that's the top part in that of the soccer community, and it gives so many opportunities to young kids coming in. And I think you know, if you're in that top 600 players, that's a goal that can be achieved. And I think whereas when the league first started with 8, 10, 12 teams, I mean, and they only had 18 guys on the team, it was a very small percentage of players that got to make it. And I think when you get to 20 with 30-man rosters, that's going to be the best thing. And hopefully we keep turning out like guys like you. We look at as, can we as players make you guys better so the league continues to grow and gets respect against the other leagues in the world. So that way, you know, instead of turning on to watch English Premier League games, we're watching MLS games. And, you know, that we can be in that conversation.
That's right. And you guys need to, when you see MLS games on, WPS games on TV, y'all watch them, okay? Because this man right here is leading the charge to make sure that you guys have a great job one day playing pro soccer, if that's something you want to work really hard and do. This is an exciting time. There's a player who's 15 years old that just signed for an MLS team in Philadelphia. Steven, how old are you?
10.
That's 5 more years and you're a pro soccer player, if you're good enough. It's pretty cool. All right. And last, 2 more questions online from Pursuit of Victory. Who was the toughest defender you played against in MLS?
Eddie Pope, for sure. He was on my team, but I played against him every day in practice because he was on the first team. I was on the second team, and remember I told you I was a little bit cocky. Well, my first year, apparently they don't like rookies that talk a lot. So I remember in a practice one day, I called for a foul, and everyone on the team was like, "Wow, okay, rookie, like bold decision to do that." So the next play, I was running this way. Eddie saw me and just leaned his shoulder into me, knocked me down, and stood over me and dared me to call a foul there. And I was like, "All right, not gonna do it, Eddie. I'm sorry." And I never did that again for the rest of the year. So Eddie Pope, hands down, great guy, but very tough defender.
All right, and then from Kirk Soccer on Twitter, I believe. Who is your favorite current MLS player?
I'm a big fan of Dax McCarty on FC Dallas. He's well now on DC United. He's a great player. He's really good. He's a good friend of mine, but good person, good player. Just a couple inches shorter than me, so he's a very small guy, but he can play with the best of them. The little guy's a pretty good player, and obviously Landon Donovan's pretty good too, right? So.
All right, nice. Okay, any other questions? Parents? Mr. Santos?
Who was the best player you ever competed against on the same field?
Who was the best player you ever competed against on the same field?
Well, for Arsenal, Cesc Fabregas in the World Cup in Finland, we actually played them against Spain, and they got a man sent off. A guy named Silva who plays for Manchester City now. He's also pretty good. He got sent off. So they were down a guy. We were down 1-0. Cesc scored a goal from like 30 yards away, and it's one of those where nobody on the team was mad. We were all just kind of like, that was pretty good. All right, let's just kick off. Like, normally you get pretty upset when a goal is scored, but sometimes, every once in a while, a player scores a goal and you're just like, that's pretty good. And Cesc scored a pretty good goal against us, so he's hands down the best player that I've ever played against.
Yeah, he's big time. He plays at Arsenal in the English Premier League. You probably see him on Nike commercials. Big time. Any other questions? All right. If anyone has any questions, online viewers, in-person audience members, you can always send them my way, and I'll relay them to Jamie, or you can send Jamie questions on Facebook and Twitter. Follow his career. He's listed as @JamieWatson77 on Twitter, and just search his name out on Facebook and send him a friend request if you use Facebook. All right, Jamie, well, that wraps up all of our questions. We're just going to talk about how, thanks for sponsors real quick, and then we'll get ready for the FIFA PlayStation tournament. Y'all ready for that? Yeah! All right, nice. So a couple thank yous before we close it down and get to the tournament. I know lots of you want a shot at winning that iPod Nano watch band. Okay. Another big surprise, our sponsor is going to hook up the first place winner with a $25 iTunes gift card and a Nike headphones kit as well. And then second place is going to get a brand new FIFA PlayStation 2011 game. All right, pretty cool. Okay, so our presenting sponsor, EyeOnWatchUSA.com, they are so big time. They support a lot of great things we do. They do a ton behind the scenes for the community. They make those really cool Imaging watches we've been giving out. They just came out with their iPod Nano watch bands. They have accessories for all kinds of cool stuff. Check them out at EyeOnWatchUSA.com. Enter promo code MontzTV, and you'll save 25% on your order. Okay, also a very special thank you to Pelican Athletic Club. They're a great sponsor of ours. KidsAndFamilyOnline.com. They're a great directory for all kids events on the North Shore. Our company, CollegeRecruitingWebsite.com. And also Rookie Sports Cafe for hosting our event. So let's give Rookies a big round of applause and all our great sponsors. All right. Okay, so this live Montz TV interview was put on by my company, OnlineSoccerAcademy.com. We make better soccer players through online training videos. If you sign up using promo code MontzTV, you'll get 45 days free membership at OnlineSoccerAcademy.com. Okay, after the interview, for those of you that are here in person, we're going to do autographs and pictures with Jamie while the PlayStation tournament's going on. So right here we got the banner. We're going to set it up. You can take a picture with Jamie. We've got a really cool autograph card. He'll sign it for you. He'll sign whatever else you want signed. All the pictures will be on our blog at OnlineSoccerAcademy.com, so you can download for free for the kids. Let's see what else we got. Big thank you for Jamie for coming on the show. Let's give Jamie Watson a big round of applause. All right, thank you, Jamie. We really appreciate it. My name is Jared Montz, and until next time, remember, if you believe in it and back that up with hard work, anything in life is possible. Y'all keep living the dream. Hey! All right, thanks everybody for